Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a lovely Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300-meter Midsize, a watch in stainless steel and yellow gold. This is two-tone, done with good taste and good manners. An easy watch to wear. It's the Midsize 36.25mm case. It does wear a little bit bigger, but it's slender as this is a pre-coaxial. The watch is only 11.9 millimeters thick. That's almost a full 2 millimeters thinner than the current version of the watch. A lug-to-lug, two ways to measure it. 43 millimeters if you measure just the lugs. If you measure the solid end links of the bracelet, which are two-tone steel gold, you get the watch measured in a more contemporary 48.7 millimeters across the wrist. So once more, my wrist 16 centimeters in circumference, and I would absolutely wear this watch over a two-tone in the full size. That would overwhelm. This seems charming. The timepiece is also spec'd with an 18 millimeter space between the lugs, so if you do want to throw it on a strap, and I think it would look lovely on burgundy leather or dark brown, for example, 18 millimeters would be the size to order. That said, the bracelet is very nicely made and handsomely detailed. It has that first generation Seamaster Diver 300-meter bracelet profile that debuted in 1993, and initially it was a bit more of a hybrid of a dress bracelet and a sports bracelet than the more squared off profile of the same bracelet that we have today. And you can see that the edges are rounded and turned down a little bit. That gives it that dress air. You'll also note that the links themselves are relatively small, so it's supple on the wrist, and there's plenty of daylight. As you can see, channels between the links to avoid pinching skin, pulling hair, or trapping wrist heat. There's also a lovely accenting effect of the satin finish of the steel juxtaposed to the high polish of the intermediates in yellow gold. Pin sleeves to size. You can see that the pin sleeves are essentially just a way of securing a bracelet, and they must be sized using a punch and a block. So if you're not familiar with these, you need a punch and a block to size, but once sized, it's a very secure system. You'll appreciate that there are half links, one on each side of the clasp for fine tuning, and then you have a fully milled clasp that is considered to be the dive clasp of the 1990s. First of all, it's not stamped, it's milled from the solid, and so are the swing arms internally. This was so much more solid and confidence inspiring than the stamped Rolex Oyster clasps of the time that Rolex generally believed to have reconsidered its clasp design and clasp quality because of this bracelet and this clasp. Now the nice thing is it's also a trigger release, no cheap stamped clamshells here. Inside you have a solid fold-out dive extension being milled in its own right. It feels very secure, so even when it's open, it doesn't introduce any ropey play to the bracelet. The nice thing about it is, even if you don't dive, it's a wonderful way to wear the watch externally over a thick winter coat or sweater. Now jumping back to the case, you know it well, lyre-style lugs, they turn inwards, and they also turn outwards, with the outward faces being polished. And you can see those bevels thin out, but don't entirely disappear at the mid case, continuing that polished accent from lug to lug. You'll also appreciate the thin satin finish case band, longitudinal satin finish, giving the watch a slimmer apparent profile than its actual thickness. The helium escape valve is there for you saturation divers who might need it. If helium accumulates in the watch during a saturation dive, the helium escape valve, if opened prior to the dive, will allow the helium to evacuate without blowing out the seals or the crystal. You've got a solid gold insert, a major difference between this and the standard watch, which featured an anodized aluminum insert or polished metal. Here you get solid yellow gold. Now you can see the knurling of the bezel is a little bit shallow, so it can be somewhat difficult to grip with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands, but the action is positive, it sounds, and the detent feels absolutely fantastic. You can hear how good that sounds, and it feels just as satisfying. You line up the luminescent pearl with the broadsword style hand, and now you've got an impromptu count up 0 to 60-minute timer, which I find preferable to a chronograph, just easier to read. Chronographs rarely give you a 60-minute scale anyway, and you don't have the downstream maintenance costs of servicing a chronograph. The dial, as you can see, features the Omega wave pattern on a black base, and I want to emphasize that the dial design you see here was adopted from the 1998 Seamaster 300 meter GMT. So this is known as the GMT style dial because it features the maxi indices and the broadsword style hands. It is more legible than the Bond style skeleton with printed dots. So while both are printed, this one's just more legible. Gold hands at center to match. You can see that little varnished red accenting at the edge of the seconds hand. All the advertising down at 6 o'clock speaks the truth. It's a professional grade Seamaster, 300 meters water resistant. It is a certified COSC chronometer. It does have a helium escape valve. Turn it all over, you can see that seahorse logo, also known as the hippocampus. Underneath, Omega caliber 1120, 23 joules, automatic winding, 44-hour power reserve. It beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It's a COSC chronometer with both stop seconds and a quick set date for rapidly cycling the date and stopping the seconds hand. And it features special decoration as well as a measure of modification from the standard ETA 2892A2. Omega adds 2 joules, custom finish, and a few refinements that extend the power reserve an extra 2 hours while reinforcing the winding system. So while it is derivative of an ETA, it's in the highest grade chronometer and highly modified aesthetically and mechanically for use in Omega. See this one and make it yours on the watch box. Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter midsize with the GMT broadsword style dial. Very legible.